Hey, cycling community, this is Steve Bruce's the Cycling Greek. I have with me here Cycle Nutter from England. And the first challenge of doing this was looking at the time zone. So it's about 7 a.m. Sunday morning over here. So you must be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so.
Yep,
Okay.
3:20, yeah.
So what we decided to do was get together and analyze one of my race videos. You are racing in the junior ranks over in England before we get started?
Yeah. I'm yet to do my first race outdoor, but I've been scouring YouTube for all sorts of racing tactics, and I'm racing on Zwift quite often, which I'm aware is very different to racing outdoors.
So what's the lockdown like over there?
So the rules are you can ride outside either by yourself or with a family member or a household member, and you should ride within your comfort zones and not too far away, but I don't think the government really specify what the exact rules are. So I guess be sensible is the main takeaway.
Do you see people riding in groups and you're wondering why they're doing that? Or, oh, yeah, we have a lot of people here that are, I see a lot of people that are riding individually or in expanded, distancing groups, which is good. But every once in a while, I'll see a group of 10 or 20. And,
yeah, you did a video the other day showing if you saw groups or people by themselves.
Yeah, that's I don't get it, but anyway, hope it all works out for them.
Like cyclists were banned from Richmond Park because people were consistently going out in groups before, but they're not really in groups anymore, so it solved the problem. It's a real shame for people who train there every day, but hey, that's the least of people's worries, whether we can go to a slightly better cycling area.
Yeah. Be glad when this is all done. Yeah, in fact, I just had a ride yesterday in which the two teammates and I went, and it was all huge amount of distancing, especially with all the climbs that we were doing. So I'll be doing a video on that. That was actually quite an interesting ride. Okay, so to the video. So this video is going to be of a race that I did in 2019. And this was yet another comeback race for me because I had an Afib incident months before. And this was actually the first year where I wasn't putting on any bike races. I was putting on bike races for about 8 years previous to that. And it was always coming at the beginning of the season. And then I would always have to, ramp back up after that because that takes a lot of energy to put on bike races. Especially I was putting on stage races. So that's even more of a huge effort. So anyway, the races I'd done before this, and this race was in April. I was just getting dropped at certain points, and now this was actually my best race of that year up to that point. So at this point, we just started off, and the person right in front of me is actually an old teammate of mine, and we drove up together. I don't know what my form is going to be like. I figure I'm going to get dropped again, so I'm doing what I can to just tuck myself in and just survive the race. So this is about...
So how many people would you reckon were in the bunch?
Oh, this one was the largest group of the day. And this was the 55 plus, and there were 50 people in it.
Okay.
And it used to be when I first started about 30 years ago that the 55s were the old guys. Now that I'm 64, these guys are the young guys.
Yeah. Because I suppose, I don't know, when did you get into cycling?
I started my first race in 1990.
Did you race these guys and when you were younger?
No, a lot of guys would come on after, and I was a much different racer back then. But
do you want to go back a minute because then we can talk about the crash.
There must have been a touching of wheels up ahead. This section was the worst road surface-wise. You really don't want to crash anywhere, but you don't want to crash on bad surface.
Yeah,
do extra damage. And boom.
So I'm assuming it's kind of a little accordion effect, like maybe because it's a little bump and so the front guys are slowing because the gradient's starting to go up, and then the bunch kind of compresses and yeah.
Yes. So right now I'm in a too big a gear for this because I just want to get going again. And, I finally do. And then I finally, catch onto some wheels. So yeah, so here I am again. We just make the right turn onto the good road. And so now as pretty much the whole day, well, not the whole day. Actually, I was feeling good this race, but I'm still conserving. There was about 4 laps. And it was so bumpy in some sections that I lost my water bottles. We're talking about this. And just like a little comment that will come up there, I I was actually able to grab the water like a running back taking a handoff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I have a little trouble. I need to practice it more, but I really don't have anybody to practice it with, grabbing water bottles.
So
Because
were
I'll
there
stick my
still
hand
a
out
few
there and it'll
guys
bounce.
from the crash earlier, or did it all come back together?
Oh, it came back together. And at this point, I guess my form is coming on, so I decided to attack. And so
Yeah.
now I'm by myself. And so one of the good and the bad thing happens because we want somebody to come up there with you. This guy comes with me, but this guy's on one of the strongest teams that are out there,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're not going to let him go. So
Yeah, his style, he looks pretty strong just from those few seconds there.
yeah, and his teammate is actually the go-to guy for race wins. So that was definitely a strong team. It's called Cal Nats, California Nationals. So pretty much everybody that's on there has won a national title of some sort.
Well, yeah, on the national champions thing, it's a bit like St. Piran in the UK.
Yes, yeah, and we have a lot of Masters Nationals, and actually that's where I was hoping on heading this year, but we'll see what happens. So at this point, this person up here is actually another old teammate of mine, and he went on an attack, and he was just pulled back. So then I thought this is a perfect time to go. So now I'm going.
Yeah. When the pace slows and you're feeling good, it's a good time to attack. Especially this is a little rise, I think. Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously, I'm not going to last the whole race doing this, but I want a small group to go with me, a small group that I can hang on to, obviously. And actually, this guy gets away from the others. He goes up there, but I'm starting to feel pretty knackered. I'm not able to hang on to his wheel. Now the others
So you're
know
trying
how
to let
strong this guy
another
is.
guy come through and maybe jump on their wheel?
I wanted, I was pretty knackered. So,
Okay.
so I was just hanging. I was hoping to recover enough to get on some wheel, which I eventually did. And then they're letting him out there still. So then I attack again, and so now I'm trying to make it over to him. But I'm not able to, and everyone else is thinking the same thing. And so now they're attacking each other, and I'm in the same position where I got to recover enough to get on a wheel.
So
and fortunately, I do.
Yeah, how do you think the tactics differ between when you're in your 30s and 40s as compared to now? Do you think because the 55s and 60 pluses, I guess the experienced people, because it's hard to get into a sport at that point. So I guess you guys are probably tactics wise more experienced and better than anyone else.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me first answer that by I would do younger races, especially when I was a few years younger, and then I go do the old guys, so my category. And what I noticed was that with the older categories, they're pretty aware that they can't go hard all the time. They can go hard when they want to go hard, but there's a lot more conservation, and then there's a lot more hard attacking at the right times.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it tough.
It's really thinking about it and not like young guys are always kind of quickly making decisions. Shall I jump on that wheel? And just trying to maybe not thinking as well as some of you guys who can I really do this?
Close, I think. I remember when I was about 52, and I had just started a team. I was on an elite masters team back when I was younger and stronger. And now we're heading into the finish, I think. Yeah, so I'm going to switch. So now I am looking for a position. I am glad to still be there because in my previous races this season, I was dropped at this point. And so obviously the right thing for me to do, we have 200K to go, is to find the right wheel, but I just didn't have the legs for that. But I was pleased to get as far as I did and get to this point.
Yeah.
And I can remember after the race, as we're rolling in, I actually had it on camera, that a guy that was with me, he was behind me, he was coming up, and actually this guy on the right, 577, we're talking a little bit, and he's saying, yeah, I've been watching your videos, and I was figuring I at least have to beat the guy with the heart problems.
Went into a tough race, which is at tempo, the whole time the attacks are going, it's really hard to be there in the sprint. 2 weeks ago now, I was doing a Zwift race, the Richmond course, which is absolutely pan flat, and it had some really, really strong guys. And the front group, I was clinging on for dear life, and I managed to just about stay there to the end, but I couldn't contest the sprint. I was definitely too tired. I was also drifting up and going down, which in that group, which really didn't help conserve energy. I mean, partially I was between gears, and partially it was probably my fault as well.
Yeah, and I'm typically not a sprinter, and so I'm actually trying to work on my sprint a little bit, but that's a whole nother skill set. Well, so I try to get away. But going to the previous question, I had started this team, and we had three strong threes, including myself back then. Even though we were strong, we were not necessarily as strong as some of the individuals on the other teams. Our advantage was that we were pretty selfless, and we would work for each other, and we worked well as a team, while the others seemed to, and they were younger, and they wanted to move up to the twos and race with the Pro 1-2s. And so their motivation and their actions were therefore not team oriented. We were able to get wins, we were able to get good results, and we got that for about 2 years. In that second year, a lot of the teams started playing more team tactics.
There are a couple of teams I recognize here. Like I think I saw SP2, which is Vegan Cyclists team.
Yeah. Vegan Cyclists lives. So I'm in Central California, and he's in Central California. I am on the flatland, and he's I think toward Bass Lake or Yosemite, a couple hours away. And so I often see him on some of the rides. And so when I say I see him on some of the rides, he's usually up ahead in the pack, and I'm because he's a strong guy, and I'm the old guy now hanging out at the back, which is it's interesting. Things change as you get older. Should the lockdown open up, are you going to be doing your first road race this year, or are you going to be looking at next year?
I'd love to. I'd love to do that. I actually signed up to a race a few years ago when I was under 12 still, but there was only one other guy, so that didn't go ahead. And then I broke my arm.
Oh, that's right. That's where I first saw you.
Yeah. So when I broke my arm, I was doing Zwift all the time, and I made some big gains from about 180 watt FTP to maybe 100 watts more than that now. So very, very thankful that I can ride Zwift, because without that, I don't know.
So on Zwift, you're doing like a junior race series or something?
Yeah. So I've got a training plan, a spoke training plan. So it's not like a personal coach, but their algorithms kind of work out what's right for you, and you put in some details, and you can download that as a .zwo file, pop it into Zwift, and then ride that workout in Zwift. But on the race series, I'm riding the British Cycling Youth Series every Thursday. There's only one to go, but after that, at the end of May, there's something they call the Talent Tour, which they've said they're going to be looking out for anyone who's particularly good. So I'm just going to try and get a result there.
Oh, excellent.
There are 4 stages in 3 days, and then the last day is I think TT and a crit or something. So that's going to be big.
You can have that on video, right?
Yeah. I'm streaming my Zwift races.
Okay. So is the junior setup over there the same over here, where it's 18 and under?
No, I'm a youth rider, and these events are open to, I think up to 16. And then once you are, I think 17 or 18, I think 18, you become a junior. And then I'm not too sure where it goes from there. I think technically speaking, you can say, for me, even though I'm a youth rider, I'm still allowed to. I think I'm still allowed to ride the categories like Cat 5, Cat 4, like we have in the UK.
So you're 16, 15, 16?
13.
You're 13. Okay.
Yeah.
So you started your YouTube channel how long ago?
August the 1st last year.
Okay, and yeah, and I've been watching your subscribers, ever since we got connected, that you've been steadily increasing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what I really like about doing YouTube is how sometimes your cycling isn't going that well, and then you can put more effort into producing better videos and vice versa. So I kind of like how it's mixed together, and also I really just enjoy sharing my training and stuff. And I've just moved from iMovie to DaVinci Resolve. So when I first opened it, I thought, wow, this is complicated, but it doesn't take long to get used to it if you try.
So since you started your channel, how do you advertise it? Do you just start putting videos out there and then people watch, or people that you maybe are associated with, and it starts growing from there? I noticed you also have a presence on Instagram.
Yeah, so I do quite a lot on Instagram, just trying to be helpful and stuff. If people DM and ask something, I mean, that's slightly different to the advertising. And just so I started Twitter recently. I have no idea what I'm doing. Facebook, I don't really know what I'm doing either, but I do have a Facebook account. So Instagram, yeah, I guess mainly, because
Yeah, okay.
sometimes people just will follow you, and if they see your story or a post and see you've got a new video, they'd potentially check it out.
My main hook is one my age, and it used to be just my age until I got atrial fibrillation about 3 years ago or so.
Mm.
And then no one knows why you get it, and that's where your heart rhythm becomes erratic. And
Mm.
sometimes they, get the old paddles and go zzz, but they don't really get paddles. So they put a wire around you, connect it, and then they give you a little zap to redo you. And so it's been about 18 months, I think, since my last incident. So I made some lifestyle changes.
Mm.
And as a new person coming into the sport, recommending some things not to do that I did. So one of the things was watch the fatigue factor. So it's a big thing with cycling to work through fatigue.
Yeah.
And it's appropriate times to do that. But at a certain point, and you may recognize it with experience, where the fatigue is kind of a bad fatigue, so you don't want to fight that. So that's one of the things. And the other thing
Yeah,
that
I
I was
completely
doing,
agree with that. I think that's
yeah,
right on the fatigue thing, because a couple of weeks ago, um, I was training. It was just getting too much, and I was just tired, and I didn't want to train anymore, which is a really bad place to be. You should just enjoy it. So I made a few decisions, made the position more comfortable, took a few days off, and then restarted again.
yeah, yeah, and I was a driven sort of person, and so that I would always go through it. Now, another big factor is sleep. I was burning the candle at both ends for years and years and years.
Mm.
And sleep is one of the factors that are associated, or bad sleep is one of the factors associated with Afib. And so now I'm getting a lot more sleep, and I'm a lot more patient this year. There's some other things that I did too. Nutritionally, I was always good nutritionally, and but I even increased my level of plant-based diet. I still
Mm.
have meat every once in a while. Do a lot of fish, but a lot more plants.
Yeah.
And and for us old guys, magnesium seemed to be a real good supplement for me to have.
What's a good source of magnesium in foods?
In the plants. So
Okay.
kale. And so if you can only eat one vegetable, the one to go with is kale, because it's nutritionally dense. And if you have a choice between different types of kale that there are,
Mm.
Dino kale, dinosaur kale is the one to have, because that's the most dense of all the kales. But of course, you should have multicolors, because each of those colors represents the reason why there's colors there is because there's the chemical makeup, and the
Oh yeah,
chemical
of course. It's
makeup.
not just have a few different colors because it looks nice. They just have different nutritional
Yeah,
values.
exactly. So and usually what's associated with those colors are going to be various antioxidants. So when people say to take antioxidants, or antioxidants are good to have, well, there's different antioxidants for different functions, and so you get quite a wide range with multicolored vegetables. So whatever else you eat, if you eat candy, if you eat a lot of cake or stuff, at least have your vegetables so you know you're going to get your nutrition that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, that's my other hook is now, since about 3 years ago, it's now being an old guy and having Afib and working through that. So fortunately, and I made some little lifestyle changes. I'm not doing any 200-mile events anymore. And
that's a big factor. Just
yeah,
how
that was, yeah.
At some point, it becomes detrimental to, your sleep and stuff.
Yeah. No one knows exactly why a particular incident of AFib happens, but they have all this data. And one piece of data that they have is triathletes. They have a 15% greater chance for getting AFib.
Be a cyclist, not a triathlete, I guess.
Yeah, because with cycling, you have one sport, and so you're sitting on your butt a lot of times, but these guys have to excel in 3 sports. And so I think that's where, kind of like what you were alluding to before, the pressure on the heart from doing those long events. Well, these guys are doing long events, especially the
Ironmans are so long.
Yeah.
Ironman, I have no idea. But there must be hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, well, the winner comes in, I think, something like 8.5 hours or something. And that's the winner. So you have all those other people.
Like 2 hours more than Paris-Roubaix.
Yes.
And you have to swim, which makes it even worse. So.
Yeah, I did triathlons for a little bit, just the local ones, the small ones. Yeah, I sucked. When I swam, I sucked. And that's how I got into cycling, because cycling I was doing okay with.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Everyone has their way of getting into cycling, I guess. If you had to pick a piece of advice for young guys, what would it be?
First one is the AFib thing. Just manage your fatigue factor. Don't kill yourself. There's a lot of time. If you got some game, getting a coach or following an online coaching plan, that's a good thing. But you got to have fun. You definitely have to have fun. If you are able to connect with a team, especially one that has mentors available for juniors or for youth riders, that's a great way to go.
Okay.
And nothing wrong with being on one team for a particular period in your life and then moving to another team, one that suits your goals that you have coming up.
Yeah. I mean, you even see, I know it's a different story, but you see it with the pros as well. Take Nairo Quintana. He was at Movistar. He was getting older and not doing as well compared to Valverde. So he moved over to Arkea to lead the team in all the races he can. And he, earlier this season, he was smashing at the Tour de la Provence.
A lot of the work that I'd seen on your channel, you were doing what I'll call similar to Lanterne Rouge. And you're doing a pretty good job with that. Yeah, you know your stuff. Now that your arm's, healed and you're into racing again, in terms of the direction that you're taking your channel, so you're doing a little of the analysis of the pros and you're doing your development.
One big thing they talk about on YouTube is niching down. And I don't know when the races come back. I don't know how Lanterne Rouge does it, but he seems to just not sleep. He works full time as a lawyer and makes really good YouTube videos. So I'm probably going to stick with training and racing, especially because if someone subscribes for that, they don't want a variety. I could potentially start another channel, but for now, I think I'll just stick to the training.
How is the racing demographics with youth in your area?
I live in London, and there are races everywhere. And I'm in a pretty big club which has a very good structure for young riders. And there's one club called Hillingdon Slipstreamers, and they're just for youth riders. And so there's a big concentration all around the country of guys who are racing. And every Thursday there's about 150 people who turn up to these Zwift races, and that's not even going to be everyone because not everyone's interested. Not everyone has Zwift, and so there's a lot of youth racing.
Over here, our racing demographics is getting older, and we're talking like my age older or just a little bit younger. It seemed like once Lance Armstrong left the sport, that all of a sudden our influx of new riders coming in started to diminish. And then when he came back into it, and then you have the whole the drug thing going on, then that seemed to to really put a damper on stuff. And so now I know our region is working with kids in high school and working with mountain bike clinics. And now with the advent of gravel races, that gives people a new avenue to go. So
oh yeah, gravel racing is the new thing, and there's loads and loads of, I don't know, there's cyclocross and gravel, but there's lots of that in America, I think. And there's also Jeremy Powers, who's now at GCN, so that's another big representation for that.
I never got into gravel racing. I have a few races, a few road races, go over some gravel, and that's been an experience for me. But yeah, so I like the road, especially at my age now.
Did you do anything with the tires?
I should have on that day. I had like 25 millimeter, and I should have had more. And
oh yeah,
I live and learn. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
this has been pretty cool.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, yeah, I'm glad you invited us to do this. So it's pretty cool. Unless there's anything else, I'll sign off. There's no Strava to link for this. This is just a couple of guys talking. Hope you enjoyed this. Please leave your comments below, and yeah, let me know what you think. And as always, comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.